Three messages before we get started with today's show. First, where do you go to research domain name availability, look up current and historical Whois information, and find domain name sales history? Ever wonder which other websites use the same hosting resources that you do? DomainTools.com provides a complete picture of a domain name, from research to monitoring, and is trusted by more than 1 million members worldwide. Did I mention they'll monitor domain names for you for free? I just set up 2 domain name monitors myself today. Check them out, DomainTools.com. Second, do you have a domain name or website legal issue that you need help with? David Westlow provides legal representation for clients ranging from individuals to Fortune 500 companies in domain name transactions, whether they're disputes, trademark and copyright claims, or web hosting and content liability issues. As a former software and web developer himself, David Westlow understands your needs and goals. Whether it's a cease and desist letter, a UDRP case, or buying or selling one or more domain names, contact David Westlow at newmediaiplaw.com. That's newmediaiplaw.com. Finally, you know that being on page 1, the first page of results of a major search engine like Google or Bing, can drive exponentially more traffic than being on page 2 or worse. If you're a domain developer and you need immediate free advice to get your website to the top of the organic search results, will you go check out page2sucks.com? You heard me right, page2sucks.com. Here's your program. Hey everyone, my name is Michael Seiger and I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, the domain name authority and the place where you can learn about the domain name industry directly from the experts themselves. Many domain name investors make money through sales, but most rely on monetizing domain names to some degree. Domain name parking came about when GoTo.com pioneered the pay-per-click advertising model in 1998, and domain investors were quick to realize that they could benefit tremendously from placing ads on their domains that receive direct navigation or type-in traffic. After all, people know exactly what they want when they type into their browser address bar recipes.com, cars.com, or reversemortgage.com. But while parking revenue was a gold mine in 2002, 2003, domain investors have seen significant declines in parking revenue over the years, to a point where the revenue generated doesn't pay for domain registration fees in a lot of cases. Couple that with the fact that every parking company is a black box. You never know how much the parking company is making off your domains, and you have the makings for a discontented customer base. Enter today's guest. Joining me from Grand Cayman Island is Frank Schilling, founder of Name Administration Media. Frank needs no introduction in the domain name industry, but because Domain Sherpa reaches a broader audience of entrepreneurs, startup founders, and web developers, we're going to go into some of Frank's background during the interview. In short, Frank is one of the best-known domain investors who owns one of the largest domain name portfolios ever built. Frank's domain name portfolio has an estimated value of at least $500 million. Some would estimate many, many multiples of that. Frank, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Frank, I'd like to start off every interview by asking about domain name portfolios, just to put things in perspective. How many domain names do you own right now, and how do they shake out by TLD?
You know, I don't know the exact number. It's 360 or 70,000. I think it shakes out. There are a few thousand CAs, a few thousand co-UKs, tens of thousands of .nets, and then the remainder would be .com. I have a small investment in .xxx that'll be announced soon. And that's about it.
Okay. And do you have any categories that you prefer over others? Like I know you used to be in gambling domains for a while, and cars, mortgages, finance, anything?
Everybody starts out differently. I got my start back in the days when, you mentioned GoTo at your outset. I haven't heard that company name in a long time. It shows your knowledge of the space, really, that you're absolutely right. They did pioneer pay-per-click. And what was interesting was back then the U.S. government was not really against gambling online, or it hadn't come out yet. one way or another. The internet was new. It was still shiny, and Yahoo was, a new company in everybody's mind. And this is so long ago.
Yeah.
And just to put a dateline on it, and so gambling was paying $25 a click.
Wow.
And so I saw myself as the guy driving the bus to the casino, dropping off the gamblers, if I could, to the casino, and getting paid for that on a pay-per-click basis. I was really struck by the amount that was being paid for those warm leads. And so I started out with focusing on gaming and gambling names, and then as time wore on, I just developed more of a scattershot portfolio. Thank you. Of generics as they started to expire. If you, again, hearkening on the past, if you think about the NASDAQ crash in 2000, 2001. And then the ad bust that followed, a lot of people gave up on domain names and thought domains were like, the CB radio.
Right. So your portfolio is focused mainly on generic domain names. So words that are in the dictionary, single paired together, 3 words. Yeah.
You got it. That's the lion's share, the belly of the portfolio. That said, clearly, we have all kinds of domain names. Anything that looks like it has value to more than one party, that was our focus.
Yeah.
Long-term value to develop, long-term future value for the next generation. That's sort of the mindset that went into creating the portfolio.
All right. I thought I read online that you had upwards of 700,000 domain names. Is that not a correct number? 360,000 is about where you are?
370, maybe 380. I could make it
somewhere in that order of magnitude.
Yes.
All right, Frank, the domain name blogosphere is a buzz. I don't know if you get on any of the blogs and read, but when you updated InternetTraffic.com, your website, you put up a statement, quote, a no-frills domain monetization platform for experienced type-in traffic operators. Can you explain to the audience what InternetTraffic.com is in a little bit more detail?
Sure. So it's a platform, a monetization platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that sense, there's nothing revolutionary about it. It's simply a way for people who do what I do on, at my level or at a greater level or at a smaller level to make money with their traffic and to monetize their traffic. There aren't really any existing monetization companies that I know of that where an owner operator who's deep in the business operates the platform and does it not so much as a profit vehicle, but as more of a pass through, trying to build a larger platform of quality traffic. Mm-hmm. And so, that deal was sort of always there for us to do. I could have done it back in the days when I was a Yahoo partner. Exclusive Yahoo partner, I should say. I'm still proud to be affiliated with Yahoo. But it's just I never really took advantage of it. I didn't think that there was a market for it. I didn't think that another monetization platform would really change anything. The encouragement of some of the folks I work with, we just sort of decided, maybe the time's right to test the waters. And as I moved people, my initial partners onto the platform that has now become InternetTraffic.com, we realized, that the pay rates were up significantly, 40% on day one from what they were experiencing. And these are experienced operators. These are guys who,
Okay, so let me dig into this a little bit more. So you build a platform. The platform takes a domain name pointed at it, and when somebody then types in that domain name, let's talk about reverse mortgage. I think that might be one of your domain names.
Reverse mortgage. Yes.
So if somebody types in reversemortgage.com into the address bar, they go to a website. That website may be actually your server, your platform.
Right. So they'll type in the name. It goes to a DNS server where we read where is it looking for it. It's then served a web page. We try to automatically pre-target the name based on an algorithm because we can't go through these names manually. There are too many.
Right.
And then we serve a page with advertising, sorted advertising, and there's some science that goes into it. It's not rocket science, but there's definitely science that goes into the ads that are displayed. and then we monetize the click on a pay-per-click basis, and we return the lion's share of the revenue generated to the site owner. So that, that's what I kind of thought everybody did. Forgive my naivete, I kind of had a direct wheel for so long, I kind of lost touch with what's happening in parking. And so we as we started to do this, we were just struck by the gap, the chasm between, I guess, revenue generated and revenue paid out. And, some of that I understand. Operating a parking company, a traditional parking company, isn't even easy. You have offices, staff, infrastructure, and that all has to be paid for before profit's made.
Right.
And so I think in some respects, owner operators are in a better position because they've got to do that for their own and operated stuff anyway. Mm-hmm. I've had to build all this infrastructure and stuff for my own stuff. So for me to plug in somebody else, it's almost like Google. If you think about Google, they don't really need their entire syndication network because they have the traffic coming to Google. They've got this giant audience, right?
Right.
So syndication for them is less critical. It's something that, sort of like, and we've got syndication, and maybe 10, 15% of their operating revenue comes from syndication, if that, right? They have Google to focus on. I have my own operated, which is very large. And so I don't need to latch on to, the parking as a money maker, make or break money maker to pay for all the fun and frivolity in my life.
Yeah. So your main impetus for building a platform, a parking platform to monetize your type-in traffic of the domain names that you own was what?
Well, it was a couple of things. That I realized, how can I put this delicately? There is, in certain marketplaces, there is a lot of paid search, domain channel. If you think about the historical domain channel, for whatever that means, there is a lot of arbitrage in the domain channel. There, SEM and SEO operators who say, "Oh, our traffic's just as good a quality or better." I say, fine, let it prove itself. Let's put all the SEO and SEM and arbitrage in a bucket, and let's see how it performs. And I think, history has shown that arbitrage works, but if you could arbitrage your way to prosperity, there'd be no need for any organic traffic. We just all do that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work. The model breaks at some point. There's a plateau to what arbitrage, SEM, SEO, all that is capable of in terms of delivering laundering traffic, basically, park page to park page. You know what I mean? And I noticed for a long time I was serving, pay-per-click links, and I'd click on the link, and there'd be another set of 5 results that looked just like the page I just visited. And that's not a good user experience or healthy.
That is not.
No. Anybody will tell you that. So I wanted to see what would sort of happen. It felt like a good time to disrupt, to shake things up a bit. What happens if we take just all the good type-in traffic? Good meaning, there's a user behind the curtain who typed this URL. We could see that that's a direct navigation visit from this IP address, wherever they are in the world. Let's let that traffic stand as a tranche and bucket it, and see if pay rates go up. And so far, that's what we're seeing. So we're trying to. It just seemed like a good opportunity to disrupt.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for you as to why now. It just sort of happened.
So you were using, before you built your platform, you were using other parking companies to monetize your domain names?
No, we were using our own owned and operated traffic and a direct feed.
Okay, so you're using a direct feed of advertisements from Yahoo, and you had your own platform, and when people came to your domain names, you served up those ads.
Right. We used the traffic. I have to couch this. I'm not supposed to name names from our upstream provider, and then we displayed ads.
Okay.
And now we're still doing that. We just, we're just doing it a little bit differently. We're using a little different science, and then we're adding traffic rather than just our owned and operated. We're using outside traffic.
Right. Okay.
All
right. So InternetTraffic.com, the platform that you're now offering to other domain name portfolio owners, is that a separate company from Name Administration Media, the company that holds all of your domain names?
Yes, it is. It operates on different servers. It operates, on I think a different IP range. It has its own banking. It's its own company. It's its own operational entity and all that.
Okay. On your website, you say that the service is for, quote, experienced type-in traffic operators. Let's dig into this. Who
Okay.
is your ideal customer base for InternetTraffic.com?
It's, somebody who, I heard it said recently that most domain owners don't even want to change their name servers. They want to do nothing and let everybody take care of everything. That's probably not our target customer. If you can't retarget your name servers and do the little bit of work that's required to, sort of get up and manage your own portfolio, then you're probably not going to do well here. The idea is that all that extra work that comes from, that little extra effort that you put in goes a long way. And it isn't very hard. But if I have to hire somebody to do it, I've got to charge you to do it.
Right.
So we're looking for people basically who are self-service bunch, who understand their business, who have good management over their domain names through their registrar, or who have a registrar themselves to manage their names, for security. We're looking for those people to sort of that can manage the names themselves, who aren't going to send us 20 emails a day and say, could you add these 5 names that I've just registered that are probably going to get no traffic, but I just want to add them to my pile. We need people who make a living doing this, who understand. And what do you get in exchange? You get, apparently an immediate lift in revenue. And, rather than go up or down rather, as they remain on the platform, we found that, 20, 30 days in, traffic actually increases. So we pass that along as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of it seems to be a significant win for our partners.
Okay, so you're looking for people that have a domain portfolio, that aren't afraid to make the technical changes, that aren't going to because you don't have a large staff or you don't have a self-service platform yet. You're looking for people that aren't going to send in multiple emails, that need a lot of hand-holding to understand it. Now, for example, I own a whole 100 domain names, Frank. I think half of which are some extension of Domain Sherpa, just so I control the brand. If I wanted to, I know how to change my DNS servers to point at yours, but that doesn't make me a good customer for your service.
We need some volume as well.
Tell me about the volume. Tell me about the type of domains that you're looking for.
It depends on the caliber of the names and how much volume the operator has. I think we definitely want people who are making, thousands of dollars a month, tens of thousands of dollars a month. Those are, the operators that seem to benefit the best. The other thing is, we've got people, the people who've done the best on our platform, the people who have seen the biggest increase, are people who have a broad-based portfolio. If you have like 12 names, and this stands to reason, on the platform, we've got one guy right now who I admire very much. He's been in the business longer than me. He's got an epic portfolio of names. He's truly the Steed Cowboy of domain names, if there ever was one. But he's got, sort of 12 names, 15 names that he's trying with us. We know he has a whole portfolio of other stuff. But of those 12 names, one of the good ones doesn't monetize very well on the platform. So if he takes that name away, right, all of a sudden the remaining flock of 11, he looks at it and he says, wow, I'm not making as much, or it's about the same as what I was making at the last shop. But so in that exercise, that's not a very good example of what the platform can do. If we have a guy that has a fairly low yield or low punch volume, names that get 2 to 3 visits a day, but they're generic names, and they get, you've got thousands and thousands of names. Those guys are seeing, like far and away large increases,
right.
Far and away bigger increases than their colleagues. And that's because the system has more to work with, there's more to optimize. The other thing we're looking for, I think is people who don't hop around a bunch. There are a lot of platforms that go, okay, well, these 5 names will do better over here, these 12 names will do better over there. Well, I'm an exclusive partner, so I need to point all my traffic whether it makes money or not. And what we've learned in that process is that sometimes there are advertisers out there, and I've had advertisers actually approach me, at AdTech and say, I've been following your blah traffic. I've been following your traffic. It used to be here, and now it's here. I used to buy it. I'm the guy who sent you the email to say, will you sell me your automotive traffic,
right.
direct. I've been following it from ad marketplace to ad marketplace. And I'm like, wow. Well, those guys don't just, because you just pointed it today, they don't just get up off their butts and create a campaign to start buying your traffic through like Google. You have to leave it on the platform, sort of they know that the traffic is there to buy, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we've seen names that make no money, and by all rights, I should move it. But because I'm bound by contract and I honor my contracts, I send the traffic for a longer period of time. And lo and behold, advertisers come, they build a marketplace on it, and all of a sudden I'm making money off the traffic. We can't deal with guys who hop around because we can't build that kind of loyalty. You wind up, you get an insincere base, if you will. It's nice to be able to have people who take a more far-sighted approach to the potential of their portfolio.
Sure, and that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and those are our ideal partners. What do they get in exchange? I mean, I don't plan to modify my terms, take more of their money. I want to run it as threadbare as possible. Clearly, I want it to provide some measure of profit to justify its cost, but I'm not looking for this to become, a glutton profit machine. I want it to just sort of be a lean pass-through that enriches those that are generating the traffic honestly and wholesomely, and incentivize them to be on this platform.
Yeah, great, makes sense. Okay, so you're only looking for domain names that have type-in traffic, real type-in traffic. You're not looking for websites that are search engine optimized, that are built out, any of those?
No, I think organic type-in traffic seems to do best. It has the biggest lift. Certainly other types of traffic can be handled, but it's hit and miss. Redirected traffic, for example, is often blocked by ad marketplaces. So, paid search market upstreams know when you're taking, a crap name, some made up name, whatever, click fraud or problem name that's not supported on the network, and you're pointing that traffic to a good name. Assume everybody can see everything you're doing, and then live your life that way. And you'll find that you change the way you live your life. And also so those upstreams will block both names. They'll block the good name you're pointing to, and they'll block the bad name.
Yeah.
So again, it's just lose-lose for the operator who operates in that way.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Who does best are people who have good names. There are small, medium, and large guys who have good names. Good names are names that get 2 and 3 uniques a day. They don't have to blow the doors off with 20, 30 uniques, but you need enough audience. You need thousands of those types of names. And, all of a sudden you'll be monetizing at a level where you're able to pay your renewals again, where you're able not to think about, am I going to renew these names? It'll be no brainer. You'll renew everything.
Okay.
Now so it's historical average.
Great. So sort of the requirements that you're looking for people to join your service are that they're making thousands of dollars per month with their domain name portfolio, that they're getting at least 2 to 3 uniques per day across their domain name across their portfolio. They have thousands of domain names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, these aren't hard and fast rules. I don't want to say, this name didn't get 2 to 3 uniques, it's out. It's like, I'm trying to build you a profile picture of the correct. There are a lot of people who go to work every day, who have another line of business, who were in the domain business in the late 90s, early 2000s, or who came late and cobbled together great portfolios. I just talked to somebody today, I forget who it was, he neatly illustrated how he built his business, and it was exactly how I did mine. You start out with terrible names, and you tell people, I've got these terrible names, and they tell you, those are terrible names. and you go, no, they're not, and your courage of conviction allows you to get up the next day and buy the good name that you haven't yet owned. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That, and then one day, 5 to 10 years later, you've built this armor of really good names because you had the persistence to believe in those crap names in the first place. It kind of needs that to get to the next level. Well, he did the exact same thing, and then you bootstrap the profits back in. And he came fairly late. He wasn't, and he doesn't do this every day. It's a hobby, but he makes, a whole nother living, 60, 70, 80,000 a year off his hobby, of parking names, but he still has a career and a job. Those are, the people we want to appeal to. There are a lot of people like that out there who never move their names.
Yeah.
And we've got probably a better way to make money. Will there be another parking company come along that pursues this model of very minimum level of overhead, big pass-through? Yes. I mean, it's only natural. Everybody copies everything in this business. And we welcome it. Like I say, I didn't do this to get rich off anybody's traffic. I like the idea of a bit of a disruptive play that rewards those that are really generating the value. Because anybody can point a bunch of traffic to Google or to Yahoo and let their system turn it into money.
Right.
And then go out and create a lifestyle on the margin in between. but not just anybody can manage a high quality portfolio of domain names and pay those renewals and build value, and those are the people we're trying to reward.
Great. Okay, so I've read that it's a feed of pay-per-click ads that makes InternetTraffic.com so beneficial in terms of the higher paying revenue stream. You used to be, I know you mentioned you don't want to mention names, but I think that really makes the key point of this interview is that you used to be an exclusive Yahoo ad stream. You used to serve Yahoo ads only. And the big change nowadays is now you're serving Google ads, and Google is the behemoth. They have the most advertisers on their system. They get the higher paying ads. Whereas if you go to a small paying ad network, they may not have any automobile companies that want to buy traffic on automobile category domain names. And if you go to Yahoo, they have a lot more advertisers. So critical is the number of advertisers in the industry. How have you secured your own stream of Google ads? Was it mainly because you have such a large portfolio that they wanted to get you?
Well, Google does deals every day. It's not securing a Google feed is not like being knighted or something like that. It's a business decision. It comes, and every company has its own criteria that it uses to say, we're going to make this business decision.
Yeah.
But it's true. I was a long time, basically between GoTo. You mentioned at the outset, GoTo is really Yahoo. GoTo started, in the days in '99 with the 3-cent search box that they put up on everybody's website.
Exactly.
And enter a search and we'll pay you 3 cents. And you had pages all around the web on park domains, early park domains that said, enter a search at GoTo, for 3 cents. And a lot of people made a lot of money that way. And I did that. It was through BeFree, the affiliate program. There was Commission Junction, Linkshare, and BeFree. Those are the big affiliate programs of the day. I used BeFree as one of them. I put up the 3-cent search box, made a good living. One day my phone rang. It's Ron Lapierre, business development at GoTo, and says, hey, you're doing really well. How would you like an XML feed? I said, will I make more money? and my revenue tripled overnight. I know. It was like a game changer.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was like, okay, I quit. I quit lead generation. And then I looked through. Ron Lapierre turned into Paul Wilmus. Then Paul Wilmus turned into Dan Rosen. Then Dan Rosen turned into, make sure I get this hierarchy right, Brian Chisholm, Sean Moriarty, or Courtney Monpa. I can't remember who came first. Sean went to DDC. Michael Browse, who's a very capable manager at last. And, and this evolution took us through GoTo, Overture, and then Yahoo, ultimately. I was, very loyal to that partner for a long time. In December last year, it's no secret, publicly searchable, that Microsoft and Yahoo merged the Yahoo ad marketplace into Microsoft's Ad Center. Mm-hmm. And that decision didn't go well. If you go to Webmaster World, you could see advertisers publicly complaining, saying, we can't advertise. We want to spend $30,000 a day, and we can't advertise on the Yahoo on this platform shift. It's not going well.
Right.
And so you can assume, that was, a difficult change. Not entirely in Yahoo's control. Of the day-to-day people that I deal with, but a corporate decision, that Yahoo made to change their marketplace. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, we decided, our contract was coming to its termination. We decided that perhaps we might like to switch upstream providers and primary upstream providers. We're still support Yahoo. We sincerely hope, that they get the alchemy right, because a healthy ad marketplace is good for everyone.
That's true. Competition is good for everyone. So do you serve Google ads and Yahoo ads on the same page, or does your algorithm determine which ads are better to serve?
We do, we have an exclusive relationship with Google. Okay. So we do not intermix ads. I understand that there's a lot of speculation. Although we do support Yahoo. We do serve Yahoo ads in certain circumstances. We have support for Yahoo. But Google is our primary ad partner. And so we don't have the luxury of picking and choosing. One interesting point I wanted to actually get at, as a long time veteran of the ad marketplace dynamic, I think that the biggest disruptive force could potentially be when Facebook has a huge ad network that they've quietly built.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, they're going to open this up,
right?
And
right.
There's a huge when they do that, and they start allowing third-party syndication in. That's going to be, I think, a revolutionary third marketplace. Maybe it'll become the second marketplace. Who knows?
Yeah, another disruption in the industry.
And I think that's probably why, at least there must be some calculation. If I know that, and I know how big that marketplace is, I think there's at least some talk of that, in the Yahoo, Microsoft circles. I have no direct knowledge of that, obviously,
sure.
but I'd be shocked if they didn't decide to buddy up for that reason, because there's this whole another marketplace potentially brimming, and and potentially a competitive force.
So if you're an exclusive provider of ads from Google, and let's say that I have 1,000 ads that are making me, let's just call it $1,000 a month. Why can't I go directly to Google AdSense for domains directly rather than going through InternetTraffic.com?
You totally can.
Okay.
You could do that, but there is a different science and a different alchemy that goes into Google handling your traffic or coming through our platform. There are differences.
How is that different?
Well, you'd have to ask Google that question. I mean, that's a question for Google. I don't know how AdSense is put together. The direct AdSense relationship, but there is definitely there is a difference, a structural difference, and but you could. The short answer is you could do that.
Okay. So clearly you can't speak for Google, but you can speak for yourself. I've got 1,000 domain names. Frank, should I come to you or should I go to Google?
Man, Google's a great partner. Great to have a direct relationship with. You could go direct.
Let me rephrase the question. You add value to the process through your platform and through your algorithms.
Yeah.
That Google may not be focused on because they're focused on search.
That's absolutely true.
So there are certain ways where I'm going to find benefit, but
I mean, it's a bit of a loaded question. I mean, would you like to come to us? You're the classic operator we're looking for. Absolutely, you're welcome to try us, and you should. In fact, you'd be remiss not to. But could you have a direct relationship with Google, and some other benefit from that to your benefit? Absolutely. So it's a balance of what you're sort of looking for. You can, they're not mutually exclusive of each other. Mm-hmm. You can have a direct relationship and a direct relationship on our side, and you could try either way. Although we would prefer, again, we're looking for ad partners who would prefer to not lock down, but you know what I mean? You have the flexibility to leave.
You're not jumping from platform to platform, of course. Yeah. Okay. And I'm sorry to hound you on that. It's just, being an outsider to the industry, I'm looking at this and saying, well, you got A and you've got B, which uses A, and what's the difference? And clearly you're adding some value to the process. People are reporting that they're seeing a revenue lift, an increase in revenue from their current parking company to when they move to you of 50 to 90%. That's a significant lift.
I'm as surprised as you are, and I would agree with all that except the part where you said you're just an outsider. You are a very savvy. I'm just an unfrozen caveman lawyer, unwise to the ways of the world. You know your way around this.
No. All right, so let's get back to the revenue lift. It's not surprising to you because you've been on your own platform for a number of months, I take it?
We are fairly new ourselves, a couple of months, I think.
So were you surprised when you switched from Yahoo ads to Google ads on your platform? My
initial switch was not that profoundly positive. I mean, it was much more muted. I think the difference is, there is a big margin component for overhead and profit margin at a traditional parking company, and that has expanded. I mean, as you show up at these, at domain shows, and there's a lot of new faces. The parking companies keep adding staff. We're all cutting back on names we're renewing, and yet the middle belly of the industry, the middleman component hasn't shrunk commensurate. I don't think they felt the same amount of pain as collectively as domain operators have. And that's not healthy long term for the domain industry. If the people who are generating the traffic can't get the traffic out of the mines because they can't afford to sell it to the market because the middleman market is so big. You need somebody to disintermediate, and that's a little bit of what I'm trying to do. We'll see where it goes. I don't really have I don't know that it's going to grow into this massive juggernaut. At some point, it'll plateau, and that's fine. It's not. If I can unlock some value for those who are working with us, that's great.
So I read on some other site that I think you stated in the email to your partners that traffic and revenue will actually increase over the first 40 days that people will move their domains to your website. Does that relate to your earlier comment about advertisers being able to determine that there's more of a opportunity to advertise, and then they start campaigns, and that brings up the traffic, the ads, and the ads per click?
That's one component of it, and it's just there's a learning dynamic that goes on with the system. And, we don't have an internal cost of services built into this. So we don't, take an additional tranche as things mature. So, all that additional revenue kind of accrues to your benefit or to the operator's benefit. And it's just that simple. It's a more of a pass-through dynamic where the profit goes to the person generating the traffic. And I'm trying to think. There's the learning dynamic we touched on, and then there's the marketplace dynamic where advertisers do follow tranches of traffic, and they build an advertiser competitive dynamic begins to build once they realize there's a vein of traffic to mine.
Right.
So if there's traffic there on the platform,
those marketers are going to find it.
They're going to find it.
Yeah.
They're going to probe for it. They're going to try for it, and once they find it, they're going to alert competitors who are going to compete against them.
Right.
So it's
right.
sort of self-fulfilling.
Yeah. So I went to my first domain name conference in February, Domain Fest down in LA. Had a great time. That's where we met.
Yep.
And I was amazed at the number of parking companies that there are. And so I went from, booth to booth, and I spoke to the parking companies, and I'd asked them how much they pay as a portion of, that if I had domains that I wanted to park with them, how much they would pay me of the revenue that I was generating. And I didn't get a lot of answers.
Well, it's sort of it's a moving, how long is a piece of string? It's like it's a moving, vague, unanswerable percentage of what, percentage of my gross revenue. Clearly that number is a bit of a trade secret. Nobody wants to disclose I'm giving this much because it just becomes sort of a financial race to the bottom of rev shares. And honestly, the exact rev share that's paid by the upstream is a private matter. It's governed by NDA, and it can't really be disclosed. But so traditionally the best way to probe for that is just to try different companies. I think what many folks and myself, as I said, have been struck by is the magnitude of the lift of folks coming onto the platform here. Wow. I'm as shocked as anybody. Is this what the parking industry has become?
Yeah. Well, so it makes sense that, if I go to a parking company ABC, that they can't tell me exactly how much I'm going to make because they don't know. Well, assuming that my domains have traffic, they get a certain amount of revenue in, they have a certain amount of expenses, and then they share a certain amount after expenses with the domain owners.
What's gross revenue? Are we talking about first dollar gross? Or are we talking about gross minus my direct cost of services to you as a parking company? My direct cost of services as a parking company include all my staff, my hosting, my bandwidth charges. I'm hosted internationally, not in the US or Canada. International hosting is very, very expensive, because it's non-traditional hosting. I live internationally. So, that's, do I build in plus my lifestyle? You know what I mean? You got to pay for my plane. You know what I mean? Is that fair? I don't know.
Right.
That's my cost of services, Right.
Exactly. So there's a lot of factors. Everybody structures their business a little bit differently. You've said that your business is low overhead.
Yeah, fairly low overhead. You mind traditional business or
But I'm sorry, your parking business.
yeah. So yeah, it's low overhead. It just piggybacks, from an economic point of view, it kind of piggybacks the groundwork that I laid in my owned and operated
Right.
business. So,
Right.
I mean, that isn't revolutionary. Other companies do the same thing. Big parking companies have portfolios of their own that they monetize. I'm not sure what the difference is. Maybe I don't have as big a zeal to turn this into a giant profit center.
Right.
So I don't charge as much.
Do you have your income and then you subtract your expenses and then you do a revenue share from there, or do you say every dollar that comes in I'm going to share X% with the domain name portfolio owner?
I just pass through, the lion's share. Let's say
The lion's share. Are you willing to say what percentage that lion's share is?
You know what? It allows me enough to most parking company operators would be very unimpressed with the profitability of internet traffic. I mean, I could do so much more, and I've had people who come onto the platform and say, I need domain levels reports every day. I need this. I need that. I want to add names. Where's my interface? Where's my management? I'm like, the door is that way, because if I do all that, you're going to be making exactly what you are, and you're going to be chasing around to different parking companies and hopping around chasing your tail for a day for an extra nickel.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you the money, and to show you the money, that comes from streamlining. And I'm not making a fortune on parking. This is a pass through in the traditional sense. If you saw the numbers, you'd understand. It's it's not a material profit.
Yeah.
I view it as a credit card transaction.
I understand.
What I mean? It's credit card companies make money, but they don't. A lot more transactions, better transactions, and those operators that don't have a lot of chargeback headaches get a lower percentage. You know what I mean?
Very good analogy. All right, Frank, I had this plan to start off with sort of a description of your business like we've done, and then move into a little bit of your background, and then go into a lot more questions, digging in some questions that came from users via Twitter and email. And we're already about 40 minutes into the interview. And I really want to dig more into internet traffic because I find it so fascinating. So I'm going to say for all the audience that tuned in to find out about Frank Schilling, because you have a fantastic rags to riches story. I read about it in the Domain Game. I've read about it on Ron Jackson's DN Journal. I would say go to dnjournal.com, look at the cover story on Frank that was from a couple of years ago, maybe 2007, something like that. Great, sort of history of Frank and how he started with $200,000 when he cashed out of some real estate transactions in British Columbia, moved to Grand Cayman, wanted to start an affiliate business, figured out he couldn't make money, he couldn't start a casino in the Cayman Islands, and later started building your portfolio with the help of Gary Chernoff and a lot of great advice that you've collected over the years. So fantastic story. I've enjoyed reading it, Frank. And
everybody has a history like that. Mine's no more interesting than the next person. There are a lot of interesting stories out there. Everybody, has that. And I mean, it's great that it's sort of working out. And knock on wood, I hope it continues to.
Knock on wood. So 380,000 domain names currently in your portfolio. What percentage do you turn over per year? Are you even focused on selling domain names, or do you mainly look at monetizing them?
No, I mean, we do sell, we get clearly, I mean, as paid search, as there was pressure on the pricing in paid search, and we noticed, a fall off as well in the last few years, we realized, we should probably take a profit on some of these. This is we're still growing faster than we're selling. We still add more names than we sell out. I bought 3 names this morning. I bought Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Easter, and FamilyReunions.com privately.
And you actually bought the domain names yourself. You don't have a staff that goes out and watches.
We get email from all sources. I think one of the people that works with me fielded the email to me, but I looked at it and said, "This is how much I'll pay." I think I paid, I don't want to disclose the sum that I paid because I don't know that the seller would want to disclose, but it was a 5-figure deal. And we wired him the money through to escrow, and anyway, names transacted, and we just got them pushed over to our registrar. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm buying names like that every day. I sell names as well. We sell. We have a machine built to sell names now, but the numbers are very small. I couldn't even measure it. It's a fraction of a percent of the portfolio that turns, and but it's an 8-figure annual business selling names. So count your zeros there.
So 8 figures. That is more than $10 million per year selling domain names.
Yes.
And from what I understand in doing my my research online, you make more than 20 million per year monetizing domain names through parking. Is that a low number or high number?
Numbers really cheapen all this. It's a really good business. I'm really, really lucky. I have a great deal of overhead. I pay VeriSign $3 million or so a year in renewals. These are big numbers. This is not a.
They are big numbers.
I'm not hanging out in my in my underwear anymore, raking in all this money with a giant rake and sitting on my golden throne. There's real administrative overhead that goes into running a domain business in 2011.
You don't buy the domains anymore and take the receipt and put it in the shoebox?
I still do that because my shareholders are really easygoing. But I did go through a phase where I was audited every year, and I was just like, why are we doing this? We're not fishing for a deal. We're not, So we kind of laid off on that, and now we just kind of we do a modern version of the shoebox.
Gotcha. So you said you're buying more domain names than you're selling every year. You're making large transactions. Do you ever hand register any domain names?
Yeah, from time to time, actually.
You do? Okay.
I wish I had my interface open here. I would read some off to you, but we do. I think there was one that kind of leaked out a little while ago. It was like jailbreaking phones or something like that.
So when something new comes out in the marketplace and somebody realizes that they can jailbreak an iPhone and put their own software on it, you immediately see that and you're like, jailbreak.
Jailbreak phone jailbreak. Not iPhone jailbreak, but phone jailbreak.
So that's a great example. So, I had one of our sponsors is a domain attorney, David Weston. He stated that he admires your win record on UDRP cases, which he believes stems less from creative lawyering and more from good business practices. You've made it a point not to buy trademark terms. You buy generic keyword domain names.
I don't want to. I spoke at an industry conference, and I said to everybody, I got a similar introduction from David Steele, who's a great attorney in the domain name business, and he said exactly what you just said. And I said the next words out of my mouth, which are going to be the same ones I say now, were, I don't want to disappoint anybody. I've got problem names that I haven't found or issues that I've got to deal with in my portfolio. But you're correct. I didn't try to back up the truck on problem names, and that's served me well as the evolution from a legal perspective of the business has matured, and now you've got a much more black white. This was cyber squatting was very it was kind of poorly defined and ambiguous. There were great operators that I know, guys who have unbelievable names who, when they started out, owned like the actual brands. This was in the early 90s. Owned the names of IBM, Coca-Cola, not IBM, Coca-Cola, but like that.
Right.
And just didn't think there was anything wrong because the law wasn't defined, and it was just sort of it was the Wild West. But I kind of clearly everybody makes mistakes along the way as they learn. But in the mix, you're right. We've tried to avoid lots of problem names. That said, it doesn't mean I'm going to avoid disputes. From time to time, we get names where we're right and we lose. We've had that, and then we've overturned it in the courts. Mm-hmm. We've had names where we're in the right and we know we're in the right, but we turn it over because the name is not material value to us. Even though we don't like the people we're turning it over to necessarily, or they're not going about trying to get this name from us in the most wholesome of ways. Mm. But in the mix, you're gonna. If I run a supermarket, I'm gonna have people who walk in and slip and fall and sue me for slip and fall.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And all things considered, with the amount of traffic and audience and names under management, I've been blessed to have a very low problem record. And it helps to just try to do the right things and run your business like you're in Times Square, even if you're in the Cayman Islands. Don't say I'm an offshore scofflaw and can't get me. Live your life as if you're standing like the naked cowboy in Times Square.
Yeah, great advice. Do you do any development of some of the great domain names that you own, Frank, or do you find that it's just more cost effective to monetize them on your parking platform?
Development is a labor of love. I think first you got to do something you're really passionate about. I do a little stand-up paddling down here, trying to get myself in better shape as I get older. And I have longboards.com. I'd love to do something with that one day, build a longboard site. I don't have the bandwidth right now. I'm gonna one day, and but that'll be a labor of love. It's not because I want to make a fortune on my development. And if it makes money, I mean, clearly I'm an entrepreneur. I want it to make money, but that's not my first reason for starting it. The impetus is because I love longboards and I love stand-up paddling, and and I want other people to enjoy that as well.
Yeah.
So, for me, development, I just have my hands are so full. Where do you start, right?
Yeah.
And you just kind of, this is the hand I was dealt. I have all these names, and that's a great hand, and so I'm just going to have to run my business differently. I don't have the luxury of cleaning out and developing one. Yeah. That said, we've got a lot of learning going into Postboard, our little chat module that we are going to reintroduce. It's the only reason we haven't got it up right now is because we just have our hands full with the sales marketplace, developing it to allow others to come onto it, and the third-party hosting, traffic, internet traffic business. So if it wasn't for those two, we'd be headlong in Postboard. So that's a development dynamic we've been working on, and that's about it. But it all kind of relates. All my enterprises all kind of relate to unlocking the value of domain names. That's what there's a lot of value there, and we think we could do a better job unlocking that value in the long run somehow. I don't know whether it's 100% development, better paid search, but we're going to try to unlock that value in domain names. Domain names.
So I got an email from a broker that asked me about your relationship with various parking companies, and if it's, your launch of InternetTraffic.com has created a more tense relationship. And it sounds like you've been on your own parking platform for a number of years, so you probably haven't had any relationships that might have been impacted by the launch of InternetTraffic.com.
I've gotten a lot of really supportive emails from people in the industry, other operators, Divyank at Skenzo and Donnie at Part, and everybody's very, very supportive. And I don't see it as a threat to their core, any of these guys' core businesses. It's not the intention. Do I wish that there was some? For the most profitable operators, middlemen, do I wish there was some pricing pressure on their platform so that they have to return more of the payment to the publisher? Yes. And if they see that as a threat, then so be it. But I'm all about the owner operator trying to make a little bit more in difficult times. And so, I can't apologize for that. I could have done this years ago. I've had a third-party hosting arrangement for probably 6-7 years. I've just never really vigorously pursued it. It's a chore to roll out for the way I view it, a transactional basis, a very little reward. And I don't really want to focus all my energy on trying to make money off my colleagues. I want to try to grow my O&O, my owned and operated set. And that's where just how I'm put together, right? So this is an also ran to that. And I can understand why it excites everybody because, wow, I'm making more, materially more money. In a business where, 5 or 10% is front page news, 80% is blows the doors off the barn. I get that.
Yeah. Well, and speaking about percentages, it's amazing the growth that's happened with InternetTraffic.com over the past week. You're approaching, I think, 250,000 domain names that have been pointed to your servers from, I think, 50, 60 partners. You could be over 1 million domain names in 30 days if you continue to add at the same rate. It's taken years for some of the other parking companies to get 130, 170,000 400,000 domain names. Are you surprised at the growth rate that you've had?
Well, you got to look behind the numbers. Some of the other parking companies that have, 700,000 names, 400,000 of those belong to the parking company itself, through related companies that they've started for, to hold the names, either initially acquired names through tasting or through exploring. And now they, place those trees under the name servers of the parking company to hide their core business within the forest of their parking business. It's not that those are all their clients. And if you look at the rest of the portfolio of the names, there are a lot of, just a lot of problem names out there that, I don't want to monetize. There's a legal risk that comes with them. And so there are lots of those types of names out there. I just, everybody's got, again, problems in their portfolio. Nobody's calling the kettle black.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'm not looking to back up the truck on portfolios that are replete with trademarks and stuff like that. So, I know who the operators are just as well as anybody. I mean, for the most part, some I've forgotten. I mean, I know who they are. We've crossed paths. I just, lost touch and forgotten who they were. But, the idea is to, I've reached out to a lot of them and said, hey, Bob, do you want to move your names to my platform? I know you've got great names like, thisdomain.com, that I've known for years. And a lot of those guys know me, and they know I'm basically an upstanding, upfront kind of guy, right? And so they'll try it out. And I'm really pleased that it's working out for a lot of them. At some point, it's going to plateau. I mean, we're not going to keep growing to millions and millions of domains. And I don't know that we want to. I mean, if there are millions and millions of good generics out there, yeah, we want them. But if there are like millions and millions of, generics intermixed with tens or hundreds of millions of problem names, we don't want that business, right?
Right.
And so at some point here, it's going to plateau. And I'm all good with that. I want it to. There's going to be plenty of business left for everybody to take. It's just if you're a good sized owner operator who's a self-service guy, you're going to apparently make a lot more here. And it's just really it comes down to how how much percentage the middleman is taking, and what they're bringing to the table.
Frank, here's a question I've always wondered, one that you just referenced in your answer. Registrars and parking companies own domain name portfolios. It's part of their business. Some of them may even have started a parking company in order to move their portfolio over there to classify it as a different type of revenue for them. To your knowledge, does every registrar own a domain portfolio?
You cut out at the most inopportune time. Does every registrar
own a domain name portfolio?
No, but many do. And I mean, what's a good example? Oh man, without naming names,
sure.
Many of the big registrars, Network Solutions has a legacy portfolio of registrants, right, that have great names on their platform.
Right.
When the end comes to one of their registrations, that name that's expired goes into a no man's land of pending redemption, grace, what have you. Some of those names go off to auction. While they're in that auction window, they are owned by Network Solutions. Network Solutions could set up some third-party company middleman to say, oh, they're not ours, you know what I mean? But the fact is, it's your registrar. You only have this name because the name expired, and you're not holding it for auction. It's your name. Right. And you're making money with it on parking.
And could the registrar even decide that they want it in their own portfolio before it goes to auction?
Could they decide to keep it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would suppose so if it's in their terms of service.
Yeah.
There's a reason I have my own registrar. It's because I spend tens of millions of dollars buying domain names. I can't take the legal risk of my registrar changing the terms of service and saying, your names are my names. You don't own any domain names. You own a license to maybe have a domain name someday, maybe never. I want to, I trust you and I trust me, but I'm not so sure about you. So for that reason, you have your own registrar, right? If you're a large administrator. It's not because I love the idea of running a registrar. There's a whole passel of headaches that come with that. But anyway, their legacy registrars have portfolios of domain names that they own to sell. They have, I'm sure, portfolios of names that they own to keep in, offshoots that are held in far-flung locations around the world, in Panama or in the Philippines.
Sure.
I don't have a map of who owns what where, and I don't, it's not my business.
Yeah.
But there are people out there certainly who know that. And yes, to answer your question, and a lot of times those portfolios, aren't great. They're either existing registrants who gave up valueless domains that are typos, or that registrant is on the WHOIS record as the problem owner of the name, but they've long since lapsed the registration. But the registrar is retaining the ownership with that same WHOIS info. So the old owner, takes all the risk, of you're the bad guy on the WHOIS, and we get to continue monetizing your traffic.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of. I mean, you're in a new business here. The domain name business is 10 years old, basically, if that. The making money from domain names business is 8 years old. I mean, it's the Wild West. And, but it's not as dirty as some have held it out to be. I see a lot of hope in this business, or I wouldn't be in it myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's maturing nicely. I think
it's a good point, and it's one that, I entered the marketplace for the media space to bring some transparency to the industry and to better understand things and to interview experts like you that can help regular people understand the marketplace. And so, I appreciate you coming on the site, but I often get emails from people, especially in the Seattle tech scene here, saying, I'm a tech entrepreneur, I wanted this domain name, somebody stole it, or this registrar stole it, or whatever. And I'll actually dig in, because now that I understand a little bit more about the marketplace, I can use domain tools, I can look at the history, I can see what happened right before they put on the privacy. And in almost every single case that I've found so far, I haven't found the smoking gun. There's not this major conspiracy in the background. So, while I believe that it is still the wild, wild west, as you say, there's a lot of, there isn't as much.
Yeah, maybe the Wild West is a bad analogy. I mean, what I'm trying to articulate is it's a new world.
Right.
You come out west by wagon train in, the early 1800s, and there's nothing there but miles of beach in California.
Yeah.
Fast forward to the 30s, and you've got interstates, and you've got people, and you've got cities, and that's sort of where we're at in the domain business. You started out 10 years ago, there was nothing. There was, open beaches and empty land, and the odd native, roaming the lands, and now you've got the makings of cities, and it's coming, but it's still very early in the grand scheme of making money via domain names on the internet. I believe, if you believe there's an internet in the future, then there are going to be domain names. It's that simple.
Yep.
You need an individual location for everything.
Right.
And so you need a domain name to identify yourself.
I agree, and I think the domain name is the core of a company's identity, especially as we move into the future.
I mean, you can have a great Twitter handle, but I would not hitch my wagon to Twitter for forever and a day as to what if Twitter goes down, how are you going to find you?
I know, I had the best MySpace handle that's just not worth anything. Yeah. Okay, I've got one more question about internet traffic. So I'm reading all the blogs, doing my research. Rick Schwartz says that if you take good direct navigation traffic and you mix it with bad direct navigation traffic, it all looks bad. He actually used a more colorful metaphor, but let's leave it at that.
Well,
and I don't even understand the metaphor. So I was hoping that you can, or the original. If you take what is good direct type in traffic and what is bad direct type in traffic? Are we talking about like real traffic and fake traffic? People that are using bots to go to.
I didn't read the quote, and so I don't know what Rick was referencing. But I mean, I don't think there's any such thing as bad direct navigation traffic. I mean, trademark traffic, if you will, like problem traffic.
Right.
You don't have the rights to, but you're selling.
Typo squatters, things like that.
Typo squatting, cyber squatting. That traffic is very, very valuable. There's a reason. That traffic converts to sales. If you have pickuptrucks.com, that's a very valuable name, but the traffic is not nearly as valuable as a Ford F-150.com. Right. Because Ford F-150, you know exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for a Ford F-150. Pickup trucks, I don't know whether you want an Isuzu or a Toyota pickup or a Ford or Chevy or what. So the traffic to Ford F-150 is immensely valuable. Most marketers don't know that. They assume they've heard all cyber squatting is bad and that traffic's bad, but they like to buy that traffic, and they're buying from the search engines. When you get an error search at Microsoft for Ford F-150 on a Microsoft browser, and up comes a bunch of results in Bing or in Live for Ford F-150, which is really cyber squatting without a domain name. You typed in the name FordF150.com. If it doesn't resolve, it goes to a failover page, and up come the results. If somebody clicks on those links, that's very, very potent traffic. And so I guess to the point is, I don't think that necessarily sullies the industry. I think what does is you start to get into these reams of arbitrage traffic. I mean, anybody who is in the domain business for a long time and has been on different domain feeds has displayed text links, pay-per-click on the page. Visit your own URL, see the 5 results, click on one of them, and then see 5 more results open on an arbitrage page. That's not a good implementation. Serving just page after page of 5 links, and what they're trying to do is arbitrage the cost that you just made delivering that click against the amount they're going to make on the next click, right, and the click after that. And so that's clearly not. I think that's what Rick is referring to. Although he may also be referring to cyber squatting, that may be his opinion. But I really don't believe that typo traffic is any less valuable. It's far more valuable. In fact, it's just that it's forbidden fruit. To focus on that corely as your core business is comes with a set of legal risks depending on from where you operate and the viewpoint of the country in which you reside. In China, there are people making a fortune selling counterfeit Gucci shoes, and that's fine. But if that guy comes to the States, he risks prosecution under copyright infringement or patent or copyright infringement laws. So it depends. Everybody's outlook on intellectual property is different depending on where you are in the world, and it's a developing piece of law. We're all kind of at the forefront of it because we get to live it every day.
Yeah. All right. I want to leave the audience with a tip from Frank Schilling. If I want to become a domain investor today, how can I find? And I'm probably not going to be able to register domain names with good type-in traffic unless I'm looking forward. Jailbreak phone jailbreak, right? If you look forward, you might be able to find some domains that have future traffic value, but likely you and other domainers have nabbed a lot of the really good domain names. So I'm going to go to the auction houses like, say, a NameJet or a Snap Names or a GoDaddy Auctions. I'm going to look at the domains that are expiring. How can I determine if a domain name will actually have good type-in traffic that's valuable so I can build a portfolio so that I can move it to InternetTraffic.com?
Well, I'm not sure that's you asked 2 questions here, so a little bit. I heard you go one direction with your question and then change gears a little bit. So I'm going to give you sort of, I heard you sort of ask at the beginning, how do you, question, how do you make it in this business a little bit? And, I think that's sort of the meme, if you will. And I would say, to answer that bit of it that I heard at the outset before you change gears there, you've got to want to, some advice somebody gave me once a long time ago, which is sound advice, is that you got to want to do it. If you wake up in the morning, you just want to get rich, and because you want this lifestyle or the lifestyle that you think comes with this, you're not going to make it. You get into the domain business because you're just drawn to it. It's something that you're fascinated by. You like domain names. You like the real estate dynamic, or you like the intellectual property dynamic, or you like the PC work on the internet dynamic. That you like that feel, that feel of the business. That's the reason to get in the business, and that's going to help you succeed. You're not going to make it if you're just after the dollar. Find another business or something that interests you, and then make $1 off that. So that's the first part. But if you've decided that this is really the space for you, and you really just like, there's something about domain names. I sit down in front of a computer. I like prospecting for names, looking up who's records, transferring names. I just like it all, And if you're that guy too, or girl, then the way you make it in the business is persistence. You've got to do that consistently outside of work as a hobby initially, and then apply yourself. You've got to get a break. You've got to either buy a domain name that's worth $50,000. Buy it for $1,000. Those deals happen every single day. I didn't spend more than $10,000 just now just buying 3 domain names because I think I got had. I spent that because I think each one of those names is worth probably 20 grand, right? So I think I turned 20 into 50 or 60, right? And that's good enough for me today, right? And you've got to find your opportunity like that every day and go looking for those and want to do it. And then you'd be amazed. You look down one day, I look at these portfolios, and I've actually I've been looking at a couple of the portfolios that have come in at Internet Traffic. I can't look at them all, but I've been looking at tranches of the lists, and I'm like, wow, I remember this operator. I remember him taking this name during this window. I remember that name from another period. They just kind of come back to you, and you realize that it's a business that grows over time, over applying yourself over a longer period of time. And so you need to do that. You need to work auctions. You need to prospect and find names that are going to have permanence, and you can still hand register names, today that are meaningful, like right now, that are going to be around years from now. I believe they're still out there. I can see it because, I said a year ago they were gone, and I've just typed in a couple of names today that were only registered like 6 months ago, and I was like, oh, how did I miss that? and so the opportunities are out there, but you've got to keep busy. You've got to keep turning. You know what I mean? Buy a name, turn it, sell it, advertise it for sale, turn it, bootstrap that profit into the next one, buy that bigger target, develop it. If you've got nothing else but time on your hands, I'm in a different position. Don't have time to develop it. Maybe you do with only a handful of names. Develop it, flip it, do it again. And there are just so many ways to make money with domain names. I'm astounded by it. And maybe it's because I have the luxury of a big portfolio to look down on and say, wow, I can do that with this, with that. This is taking care of itself over here. There's so much to do. Never a dull moment. If you want it, if you like this business, there's so much opportunity. I totally believe that. Is there an opportunity to go out and hand register 10,000 names today that are going to immediately turn on traffic? I remember doing that. I remember going through the go-to search term suggestion tool and typing in, Christmas, and Christmas.com was gone, and that's actually Christmas.com now parked on our platform. But Christmas songs and Christmas music and Christmas carols, Christmas ornaments, those were all, many of those were available. I registered Christmas ornaments, hand register for $8, sold it for $20,000. Those deals are doing that is gone. But again, that was on a longer time horizon. But you can still do that same dynamic today, focusing on smaller tranches and build a nice, respectable little business that'll make you a living for life. Yeah. Is what I honestly believe. Anyway.
All right. So again, Frank, your new parking service, if people want to go look at it, is InternetTraffic.com. I assume that you'll be adding more content to the website in the future, or will it stay pretty much in the way it is?
I'm not sure I will. I might put a link to log in for stats. If I pretty the page up, I have to charge you for it. So.
That's a good point. All right. If you think that your domain portfolio matches Frank's requirements, as we discussed in this show, please send him an email through the email address listed on his website. Frank, if people have a follow-up question, can they post it in the comments below this interview? And if you have time, you can come back and answer those?
I will give it a college try, but no promises. I'm really flying busy. In fact,
no promises.
I hit the ground running right here. I gotta get back to work.
I appreciate that. I know I reached out to you a week ago and you said, I'm really busy getting up this website. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I'll cull up the questions for you. You can shoot them back to me if you have time. You've been very generous with your time, Frank. When you could be working on the parking service, you could be buying domains, you could be relaxing down at the beach. I thank you for coming on the show and helping domain investors, webmasters, people that are creating their own domain portfolio. I appreciate your time, and I thank you for coming on the show and helping them understand a little bit more.
Totally glad to do it sincerely. Like I'm all in. It's all good. And good luck everybody out there. And keep on keeping on.
Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.